Alright, cool. It's time for a video.
Many times.
I just got off work, so I've got crazy hair. So I figured if I was going to look
for people who
have bad hair on the internet, I might as well look cool. So
Jeremy Corbell has a documentary.
let me fix my
It's called
my
Bob
locks.
Lazar, Area 51.
Alright, I need to check under the hood here because the other day I hit the volume pot and it died.
I first
So,
heard your story decades ago.
it needs a bunch of stuff. It needs lube.
I've seen pretty
It needs
much every
strings.
interview I've followed the story.
Things
incredibly
need tightened up.
But for people
So
who don't
that's what
know
we
the
are
story,
going to do.
Let's give
Alright.
them the bullet points.
I got most of the screws out already. I already got the screws off.
At Area 51. In Area 51, people got you.
I'm listening to Joe Rogan.
Okay.
He's talking to Bob Lazar.
Okay.
It's about 15 miles.
If you don't know who Bob Lazar is, you need to check him out.
You worked.
If you're into UFOs.
What would you? How would you describe it?
Right.
Within the area.
Pepper.
51 compound.
What are you doing, Lucy? Here, come here. Come here, say hi.
And you got that job. Before that, you
Come
were
here.
working.
Get up here.
Before that, I had worked at Los Alamos.
Alright.
And
I love you too.
You were involved.
Here, I gotta do the video.
Nuclear weapons
Alright.
development, physics.
Thank you.
I mean, they do everything.
Alright, like I said, I hit the volume pot the other night and it died. So I was thinking maybe a ground or something had come off. But everything looks like it's good to
Well,
go.
the way this went down was, at that time,
I don't
it was
see
1982,
That is out of place.
I joined
This-
in my
These are the custom shop,
Los Alamos.
Fender Custom
put it
Shop
on the
Texas
front page of
Specials.
paper. Said, you know,
I like them. They're pretty hot, but I dig the
Physicists
tone.
in the lab,
I really do.
Built this 200 mile an hour. You know,
I don't
on a
know.
jet
I
car.
don't-
Then
I
I
don't-
drove to work.
I don't see anything.
every day. So I was known in Los
So
Alamos.
let's put it back
as a
together.
car, you know, could hear it
Uh-oh.
from, a mile away.
What did he do?
Anyway,
He hit the window.
the day that came out on the front
My
page
son is out.
was the
playing
day
basketball in the
Edward Teller,
backyard.
hydrogen bomb, was
I'm
given
sorry.
on the-
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's alright, kiddo.
And we
Be
didn't have
careful,
much time
okay?
that day in our group, and I asked if I could go down there.
That kid is a
And,
character.
I went down there early, and Ed Teller was outside.
He's being honored
Rick
this
Waller,
week
and reading the front page of the paper. Now, this is
for.
about history, so I introduced myself. Hey, I'm the guy
Hang
you're
on.
reading about there, and we talked for a little while. And it was cool.
He does unified
Uh,
sports,
fast forward
and
to
they are
years later,
gonna
I moved out to Las Vegas.
they're gonna
And,
honor him this
you know,
week.
left
I
Los
thought that
Alamos
was really
and,
cool.
went on to other things, and I wanted to get back into the scientific community
He's like a superstar everywhere we go.
and that sort of thing. So
Everyone knows
I sent
him.
resumes out, and one of them went out to Ed Teller and referenced our meeting.
Pretty little girls
You know,
too.
back then.
We'll be at Meijer or Walmart.
Anyway, he
You'll
remembered
hear somebody
And
yell his name
gave me a
across the.
reference, somebody to contact
store.
and that's pretty much how it started.
So. You
Bob
did a phone
Lazar
call
is
or-
a super interesting character.
Well, I got
He talked about, was
I
it
got a
Element
letter
115
initially.
before it was ever even
Went down for an
discovered?
interview, probably a couple
Supposedly
times.
he worked at
Started
Area
PGD
51.
Special projects. Which was,
Special projects.
happened to Karen
He's
Air
telling the
Force
story now.
In Las Vegas.
And
Maybe
did
I ought
they
to
give
just
you
shut
any
up.
sort of job description?
So you can hear.
What you applying for?
They said it was for. I can't remember exactly what they did. This was a long time ago, but I think it was.
That's my kid
advanced
in the
propulsion
background
or something
screaming.
like that. Something relatively generic, and they said it's in a remote area.
He's out back
um,
jumping on the
you know, it's
trampoline,
gonna be some days on, some days
playing
off.
basketball.
And, it was kind of not exactly a full-time job, but you might have to be out there for 2 weeks at a time and take 2 weeks off. So it was kind of the work schedule would be kind of broken up.
This is what I use.
And did this seem attractive
To
to you?
lube.
Did it seem weird?
The bridge.
No, it really wasn't weird. Because
This has
people that
got-
work at the test
let
site,
me show you
anybody
this.
that's familiar with the area.
It's got the roller saddles
Working at the nuclear test site.
on it. They work for me real good.
North of there.
The tuning
That's
stability on this
typically
thing
how
is
things-
awesome.
So you had known
I
about
use
it
a
from
pencil.
your
I'll show you that here in a minute.
Was it Area 51 at that point?
But I lubed the
No,
nut.
they didn't say anything about Area
Graphite.
51.
Okay, so they
They
just.
just said it was in a remote location, and you just know what's up at the test site.
Right.
So but there was no mention of area 51.
Test site.
So they've done hundreds of nuclear tests in Nevada, and Nevada, the whole area was, there's giant chunks of Nevada that people.
Yeah, there's a big piece of Nevada, and it's split up into different areas. There's a nuclear test site, there's Area 51, there's the Tonopah test range north of that. There's
Perfect.
sub-areas, there's areas where they test
Perfect.
chemical weapons and things like that. So it's all broken up.
All right,
into
I
gigantic
checked the
pieces.
net.
So take me back to first day on the job. You accept the job.
It's like that. You can get this tool at Amazon
Yeah.
or StuMac.
It's
That's all I did.
first
Check
day
the
was
bow.
really, I didn't really get to see a whole lot. The first day
Let's
was
see.
essentially just paperwork. That's when I flew into Area 51 proper.
String tree.
I
needs
left
tight.
Cairn Airport and flew what they call the Janet flights. Just
You can track those
from
Janet
Las
flights
Vegas to-
now if you've got that flight tracker.
And
What's
it
the
was
name
really
of that
just
app
going
that we
through,
had where we tracked the
mountain
Janet
paperwork.
flights?
I think it's just called flight
From
tracker.
security
Flight tracker?
clearances to,
That was cool.
God, there was-
But that's
there
real.
was
The Janet
2 or
flights,
3
that's what the-
just
the
paperwork. And that
Employees,
was
they
really
meet at
uneventful
McCarran
first day.
Airport in Las Vegas. I think that's what it's called. Anyway, they get on these
When did you
unmarked
realize-
planes and they fly to
What
Area
point in time
51.
did you say,
They call
"Hey,
those planes, they're the
This is
flights, the
not
Janet flights.
Normal work. Like,
Pretty
this
neat.
doesn't even seem like it's from its plan.
That I can't tell you what day that occurred on because so much time
What are you
has gone
doing,
by,
Lucy?
the days have kind of fused
Yeah.
into one, and I can't
Was it a
separate
slow?
the days.
Was it a slow?
See,
burn,
sometimes
or
I
was it
think
a
he's full of
normal
shit.
recognition?
But then
Well,
they'll talk about
the first
something
thing
else
I
like
got
Element
was
115.
when I came in. There's this facility that is.
Just listen to
called
him.
S4.
He's
It's
really
the
interesting dude.
And normally we had pulled in with the bus and gone around the front through a normal double door. This time that I went in, there were hangar doors open. I went into the hangar door, and in the hangar door was the disc flying saucer that I worked on. I saw it sitting there, and we walked by.
That 500 was
American
crazy.
flag stuck on the side, and I thought, oh my
The
god, this finally
the
explains.
Air
how
Force
flying saucers
Thunderbirds
is
did
just
the
an advanced
flyover
fighter,
and did a
this is fucking
couple
hilarious.
things.
Right.
So I went by, I slid
When
my
they
hand
were
to one
done,
side, I got reprimanded immediately for touching
They
the
came
thing.
to where we were.
And there was a guy, an armed
and
guard,
partied
followed
with us.
And he said, keep your eyes forward
It
and your
was
hands at your side
super
and just
cool.
walk in the door. So that was the first time I had seen anything that was weird. It was sometime later that I was introduced
Everyone
to
was freaking out.
my lab partner, Barry. And we had some of the subcomponents.
I did 10 years in the Navy, so I was just
in
like,
the lab. And
you know, they're
Barry
normal
was very
dudes to
anxious
me.
to get a new lab partner. So he was very talkative and couldn't wait to show me different things. And it was in the
Let's
demonstration of the reactor working where it caught my attention. That this is technology that doesn't even exist. So, I mean, that was the first time I knew that this is really something different.
What was it? And what was it? What was it about this reactor that made you think it didn't exist
Listen to this.
technologically?
Well, it was I actually have to back up because there were some briefings that I read before that certainly gave me the impression that this was going to be.
Make
a
sure
real
that
but this is the
everything
first
that
time
moves
thing.
is
This
lubricated.
is a small reactor about the size of a hemisphere, about the size of a basketball, on a metal plate, and when it was
Or
running,
everywhere
it
that a
produced
string
gravitational
passes
field.
over, make
Gravitational
sure it's
field of its own.
lubricated.
Now, this is something that we
You
can't
wanna stay
do.
in
We can't
tune.
produce any gravity. The only way we get gravity is from large quantities of mass. But there's no machine we can have that turns on that makes gravity like you can turn on an electromagnet and it makes a magnetic field. We can't make a gravitational field. Anyway, this device was
Alright.
producing that. And Barry said, almost like he was bragging, go ahead, try and touch the sphere. And I couldn't. It pushed my hands away, just like two light poles of the magnet. So that was
So like when you take two magnets and try to press them together and
Yeah, you
push
have
against
that-
each other?
yeah, kind of cushion feeling, but you can't get them together. Close
This thing, it started out just
And you
as
felt
a
that physically
with my
in
a
your
hand.
regular
Yeah, no,
old
there's
60s
nothing.
Squire
And,
60s classic vibe.
Wow.
And
this
it's
is-
been 10 different guitars
What was your
since.
thought? Like when you felt that and you knew that
I've
there
had
was
the
nothing
Fat
that
50s
you were
pickups in it. I've
that
had
could-
Squire pickups. I've had
connected me to the
American
briefings
Strat
that I read.
pickups in it. I've
Um,
had lace
the first
sensors
day
in it.
at S4 was that.
And I like
you know,
these
everything
best
that I
right now.
Was occurring.
I really like these,
What
the
were
Texas
you-
specials.
It was kind of an
It needs a
overview.
fret job. These frets are so
This
beat up.
project was
Look
to
at
back
this.
engineer
I don't know if
the alien craft.
probably not.
Specifically, it was to try and back engineer and see if we can duplicate the technology with available
Those frets are
materials.
so beat up.
Now, to do this, they split the project into many different pieces for several reasons. They do
Strings.
this on all classified projects. So,
Oh, pencil.
Nobody has the complete
Pencil.
story, but they compartmentalize everything. And we had the power and propulsion system. So what a
This is
briefing
the nut
gave
right
me
here.
like a one
The
or two
strings
page
pass
overview
over
of
this
some of the other
nut
projects that were going
in the
on,
grooves.
in the craft.
So I
The
take
only reason
pencil
they do that is just in case
and I
what
fill
you're
that
working on is
slot
connected in some way that we don't
with
know of.
graphite.
And the projects you have to know that are, excuse me, they're
I try to keep everything
um,
lubed up.
you know,
That way whenever you use your,
everything from
your
metallurgy
tremolo
to,
bar,
weapon potential of the craft. And
you can
these
keep
were
it in
all,
tune.
essentially very short briefings, but mine was just power and propulsion.
These things are notorious for jumping out of
It made
gear
very clear
whenever
that
you
what I read was accurate.
use that
So
trim
when you were
bar.
reading that before you actually saw the reactor, what were your thoughts on what they were describing?
Looks good to me. All right, and then I am using these, the
Or describing it in the briefings.
the DR
What do you think
Pure
you would
Blues 10 to 46.
I didn't know at the time. I mean, I was reading. I thought, is
That's
this
what I'm
some
using.
kind of test?
They're good. They're cheap.
See if you're crazy.
Well, not to say
They
I'm
sound
crazy
good.
To, a lot of times they'll take in real high security
And I've only broken one of them,
jobs.
I
I mean, they'll
believe.
intentionally insert nonsense into them, whether it's to confuse the fact or if for someone was to leak it out, they would carry
Alright.
that information along.
There's
where it came
different
from. So
ways that
I
people say to
read through the documents.
wrap a
but,
string.
I didn't know if this was part of some kind of test or
Right.
I don't know. It
or
If you can
what
figure
was
out a way that
potentially
works,
realistic. I mean, I really didn't consider
it stays in tune.
all that possible.
That's all that
as far
matters.
as being the actual thing that I was going to work on at the time.
This is what works for me. I've got
The
these.
reactor?
Yeah.
The reactor can be turned
These
on and turned
tuners.
off in a lot of different ways.
Oh,
The way
shit.
Barry showed me it.
The string
hemisphere is removed.
goes
There's a
into
small
the-
tower in the middle. When you put the
into
hemisphere
the center
on,
hole there, and then it wraps around.
The reactor
So
shuts down. It's
the way I
it's
do
load
these on the
sensing.
6th string
So
here,
if there's,
and I do
if
this
there's
all the
no
way down.
load on the reactor at all, it shuts down. When there's a load present on it, it starts.
Pull it
Load.
to the tuning peg,
You can consider it an electric.
and then go
so,
about 1.5 past.
Although it doesn't necessarily operate electrically, there's no.
It's not a good
wiring
shot,
that connects
is it?
Any of the subcomponents together whatsoever. They just have to be.
1.5 past.
It's,
Cut it right there.
It is. The stuff is borderline magic, and that's essentially where we left it. When I left the project.
So there was no progress made.
There was some progress. I mean, we did identify, at least we think, some processes and had a rough idea.
Just push it down like that
of what was
right there.
going on, but I think this is
Try
a
to keep
problem
it tight.
that they've had for a long
Once you
time.
get it ganked.
And I was replacing somebody that Barry worked with prior to me, and I think there was some horrific accident that I didn't have a whole lot of information on, but Barry alluded to that.
Just like
What was
that.
the accident, like, where someone died, or
Yeah, where somebody died.
because they were trying to tamper with things, or figure out how something worked?
Yeah, the reactor in particular.
But yet he let
Let's
you
see,
touch it.
3 and 6.
Yeah, I think what they were trying to do was cut into one.
Oh,
Now
Jesus.
they had more than one there, and that was supposedly there was an unannounced
What are you doing,
nuclear
Lucy?
test, and that's what it was. At the time, remember, they were still doing underground nuclear tests at the test site.
Dude.
But from what I understand,
Chill.
according to Barry, there was
Ah!
an attempt made. Now this must have been a
Shit
pretty
everywhere here.
desperate attempt because it's not a very scientific process to cut.
Same thing.
Something that way.
This is
But
the
it looked
third
like they used a
string,
plasma
so-
cutter or something like that to cut into an operating reactor.
How many of
These
things-
smaller ones,
They had
I like to
nine craft
go a little bit
bottles.
longer,
I
so
only
I've got more
hands-on
wraps.
with one of them, so I can't really say what how the others.
They like to
operated.
slide.
Yeah, at one time and only one time.
And I don't
the
like
bay
that
doors
at all.
Between the hangars were all open, and I could see all the way through.
And Were they all exactly the same?
No, they were all different.
All different shapes?
Yeah,
But they were all from someone else.
yeah, absolutely.
Now, did anyone make any attempt to explain or to tell you where they came from?
No, no one is the least bit interested in letting everybody know all the facts. They want to give you the minimum information that's necessary to complete our task. So you're not getting the story of where they came from. You're not getting the story of how much progress other people are making. You just focus on the small component.
But they gave you some indication that they've been.
What do you think? You think he's full of shit?
When do you think they acquired
It's
this?
absolutely possible.
I really couldn't say.
There's
I think
life
they've
out
been
there.
around for a while.
So they.
I
when you
wonder.
into this room, you see this reactor working. You
A lot of people
realize
talk
this is
about
nothing
aliens as
far
being
as, like, the scientific
interdimensional
community at
now.
current time has
Like, not
the
from
ability to create.
Mars or wherever, but actually
What is
another
your life like
dimension.
from that moment on? Is that where everything changes? Could
Uh,
I mean, I would imagine the moment
Like
you
a
actually
dimension that we
contact
can't see.
with something that's extraterrestrial, whether it's
I
an
don't know.
object or a being, something where you can actually absolutely be certain it's not.
I'm
from
really interested
your
in
whole
near-death
paradigm. The
experiences
whole world you live in is now a different
and
Well, this is the only time it became exciting.
DMT
The rest
trips.
of the time, it was really.
I like to
an
hear what,
ominous feeling.
because people
You know,
come back
at-
and they
at that
report
time,
the same
it was
stuff.
exciting.
You know, people have
I mean, this was
super
not only
religious
we were
experiences.
absolute beyond, actually beyond the cutting edge of science.
It's interesting.
I was so absolutely excited to be there every single time I was. You know, this was a fantastic opportunity, and
Sweet baby girl.
however, in short order, it began
Is that
to concern
Pepper?
me.
Yeah.
We really have no idea what we're talking about, and the excitement kind of
I know,
came
it's
to
a
thread
horrible
at some
shot.
point,
Yeah.
because the amount of power we're dealing with is astronomical. I mean, to affect
We're listening to
gravity,
Joe
produce
Rogan.
effects like this equipment
So that
does,
makes it better.
takes huge amounts of power. And
Pepper.
I've given the example before
Give me a
of
pet.
What are you doing,
taking a
Daisy?
small portable nuclear reactor
Come
and
here.
putting it back into Victorian times, you know, with the scientists at the time, and just dropping it in the room.
What are you doing,
and
kiddo?
Look at it and see what
Come here, you wanna
it
say hi?
produces
Come here.
and wonder how it works.
Alright.
And as soon as they get some shielding,
Bella.
people are going to drop
All right,
dead because
thank
of
you.
radiation inside. Now, people have no idea.
I'm trying to do a
that
video.
Radiation even exists back then. But anybody that comes in to check on them will also drop dead. And, you know, there's no reason that exact scenario couldn't happen with what we're dealing with. We have no idea how the physics operate within this. The power levels are, like I said, astronomical. Like, it's incredibly dangerous to tinker with something like that. And, you know, in some respects, we were guinea pigs, just trying to find out how to make this thing.
So they had a series, as far as you surmised, they had a series of different scientists try to back engineer this thing, try to figure out what this thing was, and they would bring in new people and like, let's throw Bob in.
Yeah, yeah.
And they
I don't know how many, but I knew there was certainly one before me, and I knew he died during the
Where's
analysis
Keegan?
of the reactor itself.
He's still out there. I love listening to Art Bell,
worked on it, and no one.
the old Coast to
He's
Coast
been there
AM.
for 50 years, it could have been
Radio
there for
shows.
5 years.
But they're giving you instructions. What are they saying? Like when they're giving you direction, they're showing you all this stuff. Like what are they saying? What specifically? What are they asking you?
Well, essentially what they ask is what I said.
made a mess
We
here.
are just to gather as much information as possible. find
I've
out
made a
what
mess
operates and see
here.
if we can duplicate it. So
But they
I
never
was
told
really
you
One
where
and
it was
four.
from. They never let you ask questions about where it's from.
well, if the information I read in the briefings was accurate, now what I do have to say is the information that pertained directly to the reactor was accurate. What I
Hello,
read
my sweet baby.
did jive with reality.
In terms of how.
In terms of how it was made, what we saw, how it operated, the materials, how it, you know, turned on, and what was discovered about it. I'm sorry, the migraine is really
Oh,
making it hard.
Sorry, no.
That mother-
we talked that before the podcast. We told everybody Bob was getting a migraine.
That pisses me off too because he did a show with Art Bell years and years and years ago, and it was the same thing. I've got a migraine. I've got a migraine. So I don't know if he's full of shit
there
or
was some paperwork that
I don't know.
indicated that this was from the Zeta Reticuli star system.
Daisy
Now-
needs a haircut.
Yes, she does.
Yeah. Now, how they obtained that, I haven't the slightest idea. But it wasn't just from the Zeta Reticuli star system. It was what they called ZR3. So it was
Stanton
a third
Friedman,
planet
when he
in
was
that
alive,
solar
he
system.
tried to
So there was no
talk to
other
Bob, and
information
Bob
about
wouldn't
it
talk
other
to
than
him.
that's
So
supposedly where the
Stanton
came from.
Friedman,
Now,
he
is that
was
true?
a
I don't know. I have no way of verifying that, but that
a
was
real
credited
big
in the same material.
ufologist.
Reactor.
Now,
Now, I
he
looked
wanted
that
to
stuff
talk
up
to
on my home.
Bob, and
And,
Bob wouldn't talk to him.
Zeta
Bob
Reticuli is a
supposedly had all
binary
these
star.
degrees, and then they
Just
went and
goes
checked the
over
schools,
one
and these
another.
people never
It's only
heard
visible
of
in the
him.
southern hemisphere
But he did work at,
30 some light years away.
oh, what are the
That's
labs?
literally all the information. I
He
have
worked
about
out there.
how they
I mean,
found
I think
out
that's
it
pretty much
came from
established.
And you also probably have some suspicions that they give you
He was
some
in one of the
disinformation
newsletters
that
with
you're
this
talking
rocket-powered car
Yeah.
that he had
Yeah,
built
too.
out there.
about. I mean, if you ever decided to talk
It's just-
about
it's
this,
a
they add bunch of
strange
nonsense
story.
to make whatever is factual.
It's interesting.
Right.
And I
Well,
wanna
able to
believe
trace
it.
Down. Like,
You know?
These facts came out. And, this Lazar guy said it came from Zeta Reticuli, so they knew it was. would
When
be
you
me.
read Zero Ticket, you're like, what in the fuck is this?
Well, reading all of the stuff, it was what
Right.
in the fuck is this?
You're like, why did I sign up for this? Like, what-
No, it would. To me, this was cool. This
Right.
was interesting. I said I was just excited to be out in a secure area, in the middle of the desert.
I'm trying to talk my daughter into playing some ukulele for you.
Yeah,
She's
totally
really
geeked
good.
out.
Oh yeah, this was great. I mean, I was excited. So I didn't.
You wanna
care
play some
for
ukulele?
everything.
No, I
and
saw
So you
that.
read through all the
No.
Zero Ticket thing, but then you see the actual starship with the little American flag sticker on
well, that was
it. Is that later or before?
I'll get better though, and then I'll show
that.
you.
I think for
So
just
so you see the thing.
you
before
have
and
just
it's
started,
like,
you
later.
sound
Before
excellent.
so many years.
Yeah,
I love listening to
Yeah,
it.
doesn't matter.
the days have fused together. It's so hard to
So
separate
proud.
what happened in each business.
Do you remember the thought process when you read that it's from Zeta Reticuli?
Yeah, it didn't hit me like a ton of bricks or anything. It's just like, yeah.
All right, that's all that there is to
Bullshit?
I don't know.
keeping up with
Now I don't.
the old
I mean,
girl.
Because when I read it, I hadn't verified anything, and this was just a bunch of stuff I was reading. And
See ya.
maybe after this, they're just going to give me a test and see what I can remember.